tune to the Powerhouse Radio, linking the world to the Caribbean. You're in tune to the Powerhouse Radio, linking the world to the Caribbean.
Victorious!
89.1.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on the Powerhouse radio station are those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other hosts or advertisers. The show, found on the Powerhouse radio station, can promote any lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or conditions. Opinions stated by various contributors to the Powerhouse Radio and its programming are not to be considered as endorsed by the Powerhouse Radio station. Visitors are urged to use their own discernment to draw their own conclusion. We emphasize the importance of keeping an open mind.
Yeah. You listen to the sounds of DJ Fourth Quarter in your ear right now. If you're in your car, if you're at home, if you're on your phone, let's gripe, baby.
Driving home and you're feeling kinda tired. Hey, radio play the same thing every day, so you need a little switch in your life. Traffic got you jammed up every night. Tune in to Powerhouse. Wednesday 7 to 9, you need to check them out. I promise I ain't trying to hype, but one good listen tonight, it might change your life. So what's the name of the show? You need something to just ride to on the go. Or you might be home, so log on. You can even dial in on your phone. I promise that you're gonna love it. Just try it one time, it'll blow your mind. Now I'ma say it just one more time. Every Wednesday from 7 to 9.
Let's gripe. Let's gripe. Let's gripe.
Good evening.
Let's
Good evening.
gripe.
Welcome.
Let's gripe. Let's gripe.
Welcome. It is now January the 10th, guys. We are already in the 10th day of the year. OMG. How you doing today?
Hey, Tonia. Hey, let's gripe. Good evening, everybody. And yes, it's January the 10th, 2024. We are 10 days in. We are right around the corner from the MLK holiday. And it's just a blessing just to be here this evening. So I hope everyone is having a good week and had a wonderful weekend. And we are glad and excited to be back here another week. So, Tony, what's going on?
Well, we have a lot to chime in on tonight. So MG, he's running late. He's going to pop in. But, oh my goodness. Like you said, the 10th day of the month of the year. We already got January drama.
January drama?
Well, did you hear about the Cat William? He opened up the Pandora box.
Yes.
And I don't mean the Pandora jewelry. I'm talking about the Pandora box.
I mean, Cat Williams said what he said. And he said a lot of different things. And he was standing on his business.
That's the new term for 2024.
Standing on business. He said, I'm speaking the truth. And it's time for the truth to have a place. And he said, Shannon Sharp Show, the Shay Shay Room was a nice place to tell his truth. So, yeah, we'll get into that later. Yes. Any gripes? Do you have any gripes this week?
I maybe have a little gripe. Good evening, Micaiah. Good evening, Carolyn. You guys go ahead and share this link because we're going to chop this up tonight. We're going to chop it up on the Georgia side. We're gonna chop it up. Come on, get your friends in, share, like, and subscribe, of course. But you guys go on and share this because we're gonna talk about it a lot. But my gripe is, why every time it seems like everything's gonna be cool, somebody gotta come out with something.
What you mean?
I'm just saying, because we're gonna lead into this Cat Williams stuff.
Okay.
But before this whole Cat Williams stuff, in December 2023, we had the preview of The Color Purple. And then we had Miss, what's her name? Taraji?
Taraji.
Remember we had her, did that bombshell saying she almost quit the show because her pay. And every time if she got 100,000 off top, I think we touched on it last week.
Yeah, we did touch on that a little bit, yeah, about how people aren't getting paid their worth, and that there's still room in Hollywood to stop being so discriminatory. And, we know that Monique shined a spotlight on this a few years back, and we heard Monique, we felt her, but I don't think we rallied around her the way that we could have. But now that it's Taraji, we love Taraji. She's been in a dozen movies. We've seen her our whole lives over the last 20 years. And it's really, 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 really bittersweet to understand where she's coming from, that she still has to walk in a room and be gracious and be polite and be professional, knowing that her counterparts are making 4 and 5 and 10 times more than she, and she's not less qualified than they are. She just has a different skin pigment. And so I think that just being in a place where we can know our worth and be able to ask for what we're worth, it speaks volumes, but it's also disheartening to hear that even though we know our worth, sometimes we have to settle for less than what we're worth just so that we can eat and pay bills. She talked about her son was in private school at that time. This was some years back, and she had bills to pay. And yes, it looks like I made this much money, but by the time I paid my entire staff, Uncle Sam and all the taxes, I have, 25% of what the contract said I was supposed to get. So, there were people saying, well, she's worth $12 million, but she's been working 20 years. She should be worth more than that, because if she had gotten paid 10 times more like some of her counterparts, she would have had 10 times more money. So I appreciate her paving the way for people who are coming behind her and really just reopening the conversation about, let's get this money and let's do it in an equitable way. And I see Uncle 50 stepped up and said, well, I'll hire you over here. If you want to come over here, I got you. And so, I applaud 50 because he's messy, but he's still doing good work. He's still saying, well, let me go ahead and support somebody. There's room for her over here in my camp because I have a couple of shows. And so one time for 50 who stepped up and made some space and made some room to keep her employed.
But here's my gripe on that. You see how we were talking about it. It was making its round, and people was like, really? What? What's going on? And then all of a sudden, we got distracted. I'm just saying. How they do that? They just know how to distract us.
We're so easily distracted, though. We don't focus on a lot of things for a long period of time. And so we're going to be distracted because that's just the nature of the business. It's like, oh, what's the next hot topics? That's why they're called hot topics. And there used to be one a day or one a week. So we're easily distracted. We have a short memory. It's just the nature of how our attention span is set up and how different pieces of information are thrown out there, and then we get focused on the next thing. And by next week, guess what? We'll be talking about something completely different. It's just how it is.
I know, but I think she had more to say though. But who knows? We'll probably get back to that somehow. But was it night before last? It was the Emmys, and and they caught Oprah on the red carpet, and they had to ask her about it. So she politely addressed it and said, well, I'm a producer. I'm not the studio. Warner Brothers was the studio. When I heard about this car thing, the rental car, I said, well, I'll rent the car for them. So she said everything that was brought to attention, she pretty much, but thanks to I call her Taj. Thanks to her, she was able to get drivers for everyone that was cast in that movie, which is utterly so right. If I'm a celebrity, treat me like one. Send the car. Send the car.
Yeah, send the car for me. Yeah, I like what you said. If I'm a celebrity, treat me like one. Like, where's my car? I'm not asking for anything extra. A car is it just kind of comes along with the territory. Like, I need transportation to get to and from. I shouldn't have to drive. Run me that car, please and thank you. I appreciate it.
Exactly. So, hands up, applaud for her for speaking up, and I believe that she will not get blackballed. I believe that she will be able to get jobs and get her worth. I do believe that. And 50 cents, he seems very, very generous when he said, come over here. I remember how he even did it with Monique. He was like, she is great. You guys really need to support this lady. She's good. And I think he had her in one of his movies or show or whatever. So I could applaud him. Like you said, he could be very, very, very messy and petty. But when it comes to business, he stands on his. So let's give it up to him too. But, they did also saw Vivica Fox. She was my girl back in the days. I don't know. I'm kind of like, that's why I have to say back in the days. So they asked her about the whole pay situation. She's like, well, I love my girls. So she's referring to Daji and Monique. So she was like, I've never experienced that. But, they're speaking, they're speaking their truth. She says, but I'm good over here. What you think about that response?
I was on mute. Hey, MG, welcome to the show. Happy New Year to you, and I hope you get to chime in. I didn't see Vivica's interview or hear her interview, but I did read a couple of excerpts. And what I think about it, without knowing the full context, is it sounded very deflective. Like, oh, I'm good over here in my box. Like, I don't want to cause any trouble. I don't want the people that I work for over here at Lifetime and I think she has some movies on Tubi. It just from what like I said, I didn't read the whole thing, but it just seemed like one of those responses to distance herself from any controversy so that nothing is reflected on her purse. And yeah, she's done her share of movies, and I'm sure that if she looked at it a little closer, she probably hasn't gotten paid what she's worth, but she might be comfortable with where she is. And so sometimes when we're comfortable, we don't want to create a situation of discomfort or rock the boat. So I think she placated the issue a little bit, but we know Vivica. We accept her as an actress, and she's done some great works. But we kind of have our opinions about Vivica. But she's one of our cousins. She all right. She's one of our cousins, and we would speak to her at the picnic, but we might not actually go hang out with her, but we definitely speak to her and be like, hey girl, you're looking good, congratulations on so-and-so. Yeah, let me get your plate. Okay then. All right, smooches, and that's all we got for her. We don't have any hate for her. We love her. She's one of those people we love from a distance, and we see her maybe twice a year, and that's all we got for her.
She's not talking about 50 cent.
Go ahead, MG. Go ahead.
Is that we're not talking about that? She's not talking about 50 cent somewhere.
No, she's not. No. She talking about her cousin Taraji. She's talking about, well, I haven't been treated bad in Hollywood, and but I support Taraji, just super real casual about it.
Here's the question I pose. I don't know if you guys talked about it last week or not, but here's a question I always pose. I love Taraji and everything she does. However, if you're going to look at box office numbers about all this stuff, how many people in a weekend is a movie starring Taraji P. Henson? Just a star. How many people are going to see her? And if you can answer that question and say it's going to be, 50, 60 million people in a weekend, then you got a point. If those numbers aren't somewhere around in there, then you got to start asking. You got to do something different. I don't know if you got to produce your own movies or whatever you got to do, but I don't know. I think numbers speak volumes. I know most people talk about marketing for movies. Your marketing budget is your marketing budget, unless we plan on doing some numbers in the beginning week and going forward. Your marketing budget is your marketing budget. And if you don't get the marketing budget on this movie, then you should get a better marketing budget on the next movie, because they didn't believe your number was going to be something, but they dare not to be something. And then now you can demand what you want to demand. So I don't know. I don't know her experience in the movies. I'm sure there's been some stuff that haven't been too kosher. Um, but I don't know if I'm one to be, you know, one to say that, hey, you should get. I know somebody compared her to Tom Cruise, which I don't know who's. I'm sure she ain't nothing like that came out of her mouth or anything like that. But I'm sure some people were kind of saying that she should be ranked up there with I guess the top movie stars or whatnot. Um, but I just think it's a numbers game for some of them. Some of them it's not.
But you know what I heard someone said? They said it's not even too much of the studios or these producers that she works with. They're more saying it's her team. Because if McKenna is my manager, McKenna knows what I'm worth. I can, not only that I can act, I can sing. I'm very talented. So I have all these talents underneath my belt. What was the name of that movie which she played in as that famous black woman that did I think it was with NASA?
Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures. That movie alone, right there, anytime someone called her or sent a script for her, they should have at least $500,000 sitting down on the table for her. That movie alone. Tyler movies, she's a very, very good actress. I really believe, even when she played in Think Like a Man, where she could actually have she's very brilliant. She can really act. But Hidden Figures, I think that should have taken her to that level that she wants to be. I believe that she could get a $500,000 offer on a movie. I believe she's worth that. Now, when we start talking about millions, she's gonna have to pretty much act alongside like a Tom Cruise or what's the other one's name? What is the other guy? Tom Cruise, and then there's Brad Pitt. But in the 500,000, I could see her getting paid for that, just because of the line of movies what she did. But I think really what would have brought her out there to really see her talent was Hidden Figure. So I don't believe that she has a strong team as far as marketing, managers that can fight for her and say, okay, well, no, she's not going to do this movie. No, what do you offer her? Yeah, she needs her own dressing room. She needs to have, get meals. She needs to be picked up. So I just think that and what she did say, she did fire her team. She fired them, and probably she's going to do some things herself and maybe look other agents elsewhere. So that's the first start. But as MG said, we are so used to bootleg. We used to buy the CDs. People go to the movies and video record it and sell the CDs. Now we got the sticks and we got all this other stuff. So majority of the Black community, we do not go to the box office like the other race. So that also plays a factor when it comes to the Black actresses and actors being recognized and really getting Oscars and so forth. She just, if she loves doing what she's doing, she just has to keep doing it and just pick her roles. You know, I think that's.
But I think the conversation is bigger than just her personally. I mean, and I'll go back to what MG talked about, like understanding the business of Hollywood and how things are marketed, produced, how budgets work. I think that actors have to understand that part, and I think that she's been in the business long enough to understand that what the budget looks like and how much she should get paid comparative to other people who are acting. And no, she didn't say that she should get paid like Tom Cruise or Tom Hanks or some of the other actors that she's been in movies with. She's just saying that if I come in here and I'm asking for 500,000 and you want to lowball me to 175,000, you're being disrespectful because my resume says that I should be able to earn 500,000, and knowing that of the 500,000, 30% is going to go to Uncle Sam, the other 30% is going to go to her team, and then she'll be left with 30% herself. And so, but I just think that it's a good conversation, that it's going to help position other actors in Hollywood. Like the actors just came off a strike 15 minutes ago. Remember they were on strike the whole summer. We haven't had new episodes, all fall. And so the writers were on strike, not the actors. And so, but I think it's a good conversation to have about, how do we set the expectation that we don't get lowballed when we know that the studio controls so many things. And even if the box office sold made $30 billion, how do we ensure that we're not being short-sighted? And so I think it is our responsibility, like the Tyler Perrys and the Lee Daniels and 50 Cent and people, and there's another gentleman, I can't remember his name. He just had a special the other week. I can't remember his name, who are influential and have, built brands to, start or continue to not just hire us, but to also pay us so that when we go to these other projects, we can also show, here's my resume. This is what I got paid on my last 5 films. Please meet me or match me. But we also have to create platforms where we're making movies and we're making entertainment that we actually support and we see. Like you just mentioned, it was a time where we watched everything bootleg, and that really hurt our actors because the numbers show the studio whether or not to invest in another project similar or like that. So I think it's a good dialogue to have. I think that no matter what industry we are in, it just still feels that we always have to prove ourselves. We always have to have a longer resume or, more certificates or more training or more experience than, somebody who just graduated or, who was the nephew or the niece of such and such. And I think that's the other part of the conversation that we're not having. Like, why do we as Black women, as Black people have to continue to prove that we are worth X, Y, and Z? And why is it that there's still that attitude that, yes, you're worth 500,000, but all I'm going to offer you is 175. Not because I can't afford to pay you the 500,000, but just because I know I can get away with it and you're going to take it. And that's just going to be what it is. So the gripe for me is with the system, and the opportunity to change it is just by continuing to spotlight it, talk about it, and call the studios on it when it happens. Just like at one time we boycotted certain companies, we can also have that same economic power, because when we do it, it's going to hurt, but it also is going to send a message. So it might hurt the actors initially, but it will also send a message that we value these people, and just like when companies are constantly making a profit, right? Your CEO gets a $4 or $5 million raise, and the working class people are struggling to get a 50-cent raise. Like, the math doesn't make sense to us. You know, the studios are making millions and millions, and Universal Studios, Disney Studios, like they're making millions and millions and millions of dollars. But is it trickling down?
Well, that's why we have to do what we have to do, because we know that they can't. For example, studios can't make it without the actresses and actors, and just like with any company, you can't make it without your employees. Even if McDonald's, how are you going to make this money, McDonald's, if you don't have employees, cashiers, and the person who is making the sandwich and the fries? But this is a conversation that we can always have and continue, because it's always here. It's going to always be here. You know, before we've heard about the factory workers, so bus drivers. This is a conversation, and it's just a show. No industry is off limits when it comes to equal pay, fair pay. So we're gonna have to table this, and we're gonna follow though. We're gonna keep following and see what else comes about when it comes to these actors and actresses with the pay, because they're off strike and they came to an agreement, so they're hitting back into the studio. So let's see how this goes. But now we got to come in, because, you know, we got like 30 minutes to chop this all up. See, MG, I'm glad you're here, because I know MG. He could help us with this Cat William thing. Cat William, he is not for the weak. If you weak, don't look at him even sideways. If you got even one little weak bone in your body, please don't look at that man sideways. MG, I'm gonna let you go on and take this, start this off, because everybody want to know what we thinking. Because, woo-wee.
Well, I'm sure people are not going to agree with me, but I don't care for it. I think as a grown man, you're 50 something years old, and you're sitting back talking about other grown men and how they got to their money. I think that's a huge character flaw in my book. I personally, I don't find him as funny as other people, um, just because I think Pimp Chronicles was his pinnacle of his stand up, just for me. And I've watched a lot of his stand up since then. It just didn't do it for me like Pimp Chronicles did. Um, I hope whatever movie he has coming out or comedy special he got going on, I hope people go see it. I hope people, you know, buy into whatever he got going on, whatever he's selling. Um, my personal opinion about whatever people had to do to get a role in the movie is whatever they had to do. Let them do them. If it's not you, then it's not you. Keep it moving. You stand on what you stand on, then cool. You know, if your money come however your money come, then that's how it comes. But I'm just not. I'm not for. Maybe I'm a little bit more old school. Um, in the sense of like, you never talk about another man's money and how they got to it. You know what I mean? You just let him do what he gonna do, because it's not yours. And you basically said you wouldn't do it to get there. So cool. I just find it weird that you're talking about 80 to 90% of the people you're talking about, they got more money than you. 80% of 80 to 90% of the people that you're talking about aren't even getting money from stand up anymore. They're doing other things. And your whole thing is, but I'm funnier than them. I didn't get it. So um, just it didn't move me. I didn't care for it.
So you see how I have to lean in, right? Because I didn't expect that from MG.
Yeah, I just don't, man. I don't, and I can look at it from I don't know who's spiritual, who's not, but I know about all the people that he spoke about outside of maybe Kev a little bit. All these people have placed God first in their life, just from what they've said about about their life, and I find it interesting, that they thank God for where they are, uh, the places they've gotten to, um, the choices they made in life, and you know, and to for this person to come along and be like, hey, everything that you did was because you did blase blase, and people was like, oh, that's the truth, because he ain't gonna never lie about nothing. Like, huh? The joke stealing and all that stuff. I think it's, it's. I'm sure that may have happened. I'm sure that happens all the time too. But like I said before, I just don't. I didn't care for the reaching for people and their success to diminish their success as a way to promote that whatever you've done in life is better somehow. I didn't like that. But that's just my little 2 cents.
All right, and that's what we're here. We got our opinions, and so and I respect your opinion. But besides, like, him talking about whoever did what they did in Hollywood to get where they're at, I believe because his first word was, I came here because these people that I'm talking about right now, they came on the same couch and they did a lot of talking. And they did a lot of talking and they lied. So he wanted to address Ricky Smiley. Because Ricky Smiley said he was supposed to play Money Mike. And as Cat Williams said, that was not true. And Ice Cube came out and he agreed and disagreed with certain things. But yeah, that part was for Cat. So I think, and then when he saw...
Well, that's not what Ice Cube said. Ice Cube said, and both of them said, he wanted Ricky in the movie. So I think there was a synopsis of that. He wanted Ricky in the movie, because I saw Ricky's response too, for whatever reason. He said, what he said is that Ricky came in there and he didn't fit the character, so he made him the Santa Claus. He said when Cat Williams came in there, he changed the character to fit him, because he made it made for a better scene or a better role. So here's my point about with Cat and what he was doing. He'll tell you some truths about the situation, and then I'm sorry, I just got a message. But then he'll go around and start kind of dibbling dab, just like about the whole the scene that was with the pliers and stuff like that, how he said it was supposed to be something else, and then he wrote it to be something else, and Cube was like, nah, that's not what happened. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, so all these people came out and said, yeah, it's cool, but that's not really what happened. Just from this, I didn't hear anything. I'm on a social media fast. So I've been on social media in the past kind of week or so, but from what I saw from that first little part, I don't know if anything else has came out since then, though.
Because I know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was just going to say that, from the comedy perspective, I'm not a big comedy fan in general. So I don't really watch comedies. I don't really like comedy TV shows. But I have seen him act in some of the movies. And I didn't realize he was in that many of them. But it's interesting about the narrative, because there are a couple of narratives that are going at the same time. There's the narrative that there's some lies that have been told in the past, and I want people to be honest about what happened in the past. And I don't, I'm not harboring on the past, but when people continue to lie in the present, then that annoys me, and I want to set the record straight. So that's one narrative that I saw. There's also another narrative where something is going on with like Shannon Sharpe, where his colleagues were, I don't know if they were envious or if they were lightweight hating on him, because after this particular interview, his stock went up. People were subscribing to the Shay Shay Show or Shay Shay Room, whatever it's called. People were interested in other things that Shannon Sharpe has done, and his ratings went up. So there was another narrative there that has spun off as a result of this. And then you have all of the people who Kat kind of put on blast, some people decided to respond right away, and some people responded about a day or two later. And then you have that narrative of, well, what happens in the house should stay in the house, and you shouldn't air dirty laundry in the streets. So I think that, and I didn't watch the whole interview. I just watched snippets of it as people were posting different sound pieces of it. From my understanding, it's over 2 hours. And I may not go back and invest those 2 hours to watch it. But to be kind of in the middle of the road, I think that there's always some truth that's being told. And I think that we shouldn't overlook the validity of how a person feels when they believe that people have either stole from them or lied on them to get where they are. And it doesn't mean that we necessarily need to use that platform to lambast them in public, but it does mean that somewhere in our own living room, there needs to be a space where we can go back to somebody and say, hey, MG, do you remember back in 2001 when I told this joke? And then in 2002, I saw you tell it. Don't you think you owe me an apology for that? Like, whatever it is that we should have a space where we can go back to each other, as Marcus said, MG said, as grown men, to be able to reconcile these offenses that, whether they're perceived or real, happened. Because when we don't, then we get to see it played out in the public like this. And so that's the last part of the view that I have on when do we get to a space and a place that we can come to our brother. And maybe not right away. Maybe it's 20 years later when everybody's successful, everybody's landed where they needed to land. You know, we all have a past, and, you know, we all do things to get our money and to get where we need to go. And then if there are things that we've done in the past that maybe we wouldn't do today because we've matured, or we have that relationship with God now, or because, you know, we're focused on other things, is there a place where we can go back and make amends to our brother or our sister? So those would be the takeaways that I have from this whole experience.
All right, fair. Some of the things he said, a lot of people on social media, even friends and I that have had this conversation, they pretty much believe what he said. They're, as far as the jokes are concerned, stealing of jokes, and I mean, social media is fast because they go and dig, they go in the archives, okay? I'm talking about YouTube from 1987. And they found some things. You see the joke that not only Cat William, there's also Mark Curry hanging with Mr. Cooper. He accused him, and he didn't even come in public and accuse him. He actually heard Steve Harvey telling his joke as a real life story, like it happened to him. And he said they went to some kind of award or something like that. And he said he called him to the side. Hey, what's up? And the person who was interviewing him, this is before the Cat, the person who was interviewing him said, what did you say to him? He said, ask Steve. He said, ask Steve. I can respect him on that. I'm just letting you know, he stole my joke and I confronted him. And I let him know. Now, if you want to know what I said to him, ask him. I like that response. There was a few other videos that showed where Cedric and Steve, again, took some jokes from Cat. And it's like, okay, we're in this industry, and sometimes, remember, our jokes usually sometimes, because, you know, I can be comical too, but some of our jokes be about our personal experience. So don't take my personal experience and try to make it yours, or make a joke out of it and not know that it's something that was personal to me. I can laugh about it. I can joke about it, but you can't. So I think in that aspect of it, I understand where Cat is coming from. Like, I'm about to expose everyone. How he's doing it, a lot of people is also saying, we got to protect Cat at all costs. Because he just opened the Pandora box. He done put Tyler Perry in it, men who wear dress. Some of the stuff he could have not said. Some of the stuff he could have do it in your comedy show. But who don't bother you? I think you shouldn't bother. And I didn't understand why he brought Tyler in it. I didn't get that part. He just was just throwing people under the bus, and the ones who he had something with, he just literally like threw them in front of the bus, and he stayed right behind them so that they don't run. But to be honest, for us on the outside, he telling us what's going on over there. We didn't know. So now that's making us look at these folks like, well, what did you do? Okay. It's, and if it's a club, it's a club. So that's why they always say, you don't let everybody come to your house. You don't let everybody know what you got. So that kind of thing. And I think with that, I honestly believe that he is putting himself, and he adopted 7 children, and he has 3 biological of his own. So he got 10 children. You're not thinking about your family when you start going certain. Lord, did you hear when he even brought Michael Jackson in it? About Michael Jackson calling Chris Tucker Christmas.
He reached all over the place, all over. He reached all over town. He did. He
went to the graveyard.
He did. It was entertaining. It was an entertaining video. I mean, he said that he could run for a 4.4, or I can't remember what he said. But I mean, the parts that I saw, it was entertainment, and I just took it for the entertaining value. There's always a little bit of truth in there, and I think that if we were going to critique it, then some of that stuff he could have either said differently or pulled people to the side, to get the amends or the apology or the acknowledgement or whatever it is that he was looking for. We know that it's raggedy out here in the streets. It's raggedy. Like people, like if you're a comedian, that means you have to be funny and you have to hustle and grind in order to put your name out there. And this was before Twitter and Facebook, and these comedians were coming up in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, where you literally had to buy a ticket and go to a show. That's how you got your audience, and you had to sell your DVD and hope that of the 10 that you sold, of the 100 that you made, you sold 10, because somebody's all they're going to do is burn it and share it with somebody else. So you're only going to make $1 out of the $100 that you could have made. Like, it was a hustle, grind, painful time and these people survived that. These comedians survived that. And so maybe they were unscrupulous at points and times. It happens. But hopefully each person turned around and did some good. Maybe they didn't reach back and help you, but hopefully they paid it forward and helped somebody else. Because that's the point of it. Like, if I make it, then and I apologize if I stepped over you to get where I am, and I can't turn around and help you. But what I can do is create a space to maybe have other people in my industry now, or now that I'm making movies, I can bring on this person and this actor or this comedian to participate in this movie, because now my name is big, but I don't want to forget these people. So we have to find a way to advance the agenda of Black America in a positive light. Otherwise, people are always going to be looking at us and laughing with us, but laughing at us because of the way that we handle things. And that's the part that I think MG kind of alluded to, and not to speak on your behalf, but we just have to find a way to shine a positive light, even when people have done us wrong. There's a space for it, and the conversation is still being had in certain places, and people are still going to be looking in the archives to find what else they can find, because that's what makes it funny. It's like, oh, there's Cedric the Entertainer, there's Cat Williams. Who did it better? Oh, I see Cat Williams. He said it was a car, and Cedric the Entertainer said it was a spaceship or something. I can't remember exactly the joke. So people are going to roll back the tapes and find out. They're going to fact check. Because this is the era that we live in. You say something out there, somebody's going to fact check.
And that's what they were doing, because they brought some stuff up, and even the comedian Gary Owens, the white guy, he also mentioned him, like he didn't sell his soul. You see where he's at. He's not big like that. And Gary Owens even came out and he said, you know, his folks was calling him and was like, what's up? What you mean? He said, I didn't sold my soul. And he started to share a story. He went into a man's office and this man was like, he said, you know that, you know, if somebody said to you, would you sucker, you know, for $1 million? And he was like, no, I like women. He said, I'm not going to call no name. They have a name for it, couch something. So he pretty much even came out and kind of confirmed what Kat was saying about having to do certain things. And, you know, there's people who have, you know, basically got, you know, handle that. Because, you know, Kat came out and said that, what's his name? Harvey Weinstein asked him, can he, you know, what does it do fellatio on him? And he was like, no. First of all, Lord, I know people gonna say something about me. Cat ain't even attracted like that for somebody to say that to anyway. But I guess FC, not FC, Weinstein, he probably like black men in general. Because he know they packing. Maybe. I'm just saying.
The only thing that I thought about in that comment, it kind of put me back in the mindset of when we were talking about P. Diddy a couple of weeks ago, that there's a lot of evil out there in Hollywood and in the movie industry and the music industry. And people, you know, there's always this talk about the Illuminati and, you know, about people selling their souls to make it in the industry. But these little comments just remind me of how much evil people must have to sift through in order to survive and make it in the music and in Hollywood. And it just, you know, it just leads to more questions like, is it really just this pitfall of evil that's out there that people are navigating through and stepping over people in order to get where they need to go so that they can make it? And then what happens when they do make it? Like, we have this expectation of the Oprahs and the Tylers and the Steves, that they made it. And so what are they doing to help people? And how are they helping people? And so, you know, we do see where, you know, Steve Harvey, you know, he has his boys camp and, you know, he gives a lot of praise to God and, you know, he has different fundraisers in the community. So we do see things that are, you know, our idols or our icons or our, you know, celebrities are doing. But it's just like when I hear these little comments, I just wonder like how many secrets are really out there and how many people had to cross a Harvey Weinstein or somebody else in order to get where they're going and did some things that they're not proud of. And Kat just kind of spilled a little tea about it.
Well, he opened the Pandora box and he got all of us wondering who never paid attention to Kat, probably looking at him like looking at the next person he talked about. But not only that, so after he did this interview with Shannon, of course, like you said, Shannon has now over, I think it was about 2 days ago, he was at 47 million views. Good for him. Good for him. I mean, I don't think I'll just go to his YouTube to watch his podcast. I'm still looking at him like, who is he really? I know he used to be a football player. Okay. So that's what me. But at the end of the day, he woke it up because now everyone wants to see him. He's touring, and he decided, guess who's gonna go on tour with him, honey?
Who?
One. Kevin Clark's ex-wife.
She's a comedian?
I didn't know she was, but
I mean, like I said, I don't.
Apparently she is. What's she gonna do? Sing?
Maybe she's funny. Okay.
she's going on tour with him, and also he's taking brother Mark Curry.
Oh, okay. All right. Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I was wondering he probably should hit up what's it called? This oh my goodness, from different world. Steinbeck.
Oh, Sinbad.
Steinbeck.
Oh, I forgot about Sinbad. Okay.
Because I remember one time he was sick, but I think he should kind of take him too.
Okay. All right.
Hello, Bun. Can't pronounce the first name, so I'm going to do the last word, Bun. Thank you for tuning in. Aloud. Okay. Maybe we missed the other. I think we missed some other comments. Maybe that's why. But
It's delayed sometimes, but yeah.
Yes.
So wow. Well,
so everyone, they're gonna have a sold out show wherever they go, and like MG did say in the beginning, he already insinuated. He already said what movie, what's about to happen, and now there's a tour.
I mean, he also said that, but he also said that we didn't comment on. MG said, "Why are you talking about people who have made way more money than you have?" But let Cat tell her that he's not in it for the money, and he's not trying to be where they are, and he's satisfied with the life that he's had, and he's raised 10 children, and he's given away lots of money to help artists. And I mean, there are stories where, some of the comedians that toured with him, you will say that, he walked up and handed him $1,000. And, so I'm sure that if we were to peel back the layers, 80% of what he said was probably true. No, 70% was probably true. 20% was probably just for jokes. And 10% was probably, misremembering, because sometimes we misremember things. But next week we'll be talking about somebody else. I mean, there was a lot of people who got fired in Black Monday, but I don't really keep up with sports, so MG, he dropped off. But there were some coaches that got fired. I think the Falcons coach got fired. His name is Arthur Smith. And I think the Jacksonville Jaguars fired not the head coach, but fired some other people. And then Nick Saban, which is the football coach for Alabama, I think he's retiring. So there were some things that happened in the sports world over the past couple of days.
So what about the New England coach? Didn't I heard he went bye-bye?
I don't know if he retired yet. I didn't see it today. I know yesterday they were speculating. They were saying, well, that we have to wait to see what he's going to do. But I didn't follow it today, so I'm not sure if he actually retired or stepped down. But there was some conversation about, well, if he does, then who would be a good fit to go there? So it's one of those move the pieces on the board. All these jobs become available, and who's going to move around and go where? So for those people who follow it a little closer than we do, I'm sure that they have their wishes about who they want to see go and who they're mad that had to lose their job at the end of their season. So
wow. So you remember last week while we were on live, and I was actually looking for something online, and I scrolled through where a young man jumped across the podium over the judge in Las Vegas. Well, yesterday, he went in front of the judge, y'all. I mean, he was going to do that judge some harm, seriously, because people was calling him Superman, and they was, because you think about it, from where you at, in the middle of the court in front of that podium, and to run and leap over where she's at, for real. So, however, I think if he really did get a hold of her, he would have really did some damage. And when the deputies and even a court person was in there, they was fighting dude, like they had to fight him because he was fighting them, and he was cussing and carrying on. So yesterday, he was brought into the courtroom. Child, you would have thought it was Jeffrey Dahmer. You would have thought it was Manson. You would have thought it was the bomber from the Oklahoma bomber. I mean, shackled. They had his hand, some gloves on his hand, shackled. They had on they call it a spit guard or something all over his face or whatever. I said, ooh, wee. Honey, when they read the charges, so he went in to get sentenced for what he was supposed to get sentenced for last week. So between 2 to 5 years, he gonna have to serve, right? So he had to go in the day before yesterday, and then yesterday. Yesterday he had to go front to hear his charges. So this time they had on a mask on his face, and they still had him in the shackles and the gloves, like his hands, whatever. Because he was throwing some hands on them deputies, okay? Hunting. Charge number 1. Attempted murder on a person that is over 60. Attempted murder. That alone. He had about 13 charges, but then with the spitting, the bodily fluid, the only one that stood out for me, whatever else, he, assault and attacking a protective person and the deputies, attempted murder. And I didn't even know they had even something with somebody over 60.
I hadn't heard of that one. Maybe it's just based on the state that you live in, but basically what they're saying is we're going to throw all of these charges because the more we throw, then the more will stick. So they'll probably throw out the attempted murder because I don't really see how they would prove that he attempted to murder somebody. He was just trying to assault them. But yeah, I mean, again, that when I saw that video, first you laugh, right? That's like your first impulse is to laugh, like, oh my gosh, he jumped across there. I'm trying to figure out like how did he get across there? Did he go around the table? Did he jump over the table and then jump over the up to the bench? And then you think, oh my goodness, he just assaulted a judge. Like then the reality kicks in. Do you not know that this is not going to go well for you, sir? As evidenced by them shackling him in and making a spectacle of him. Because really that's what they did. Like they shackled him up, they bound him, they put that little mask thing on him, and he looked like a spectacle. And it was he looked like he had been humiliated and dehumanized is really what it was. Like you now are like a beast or an animal that's just shackled up. Like you don't even look like a human being in this form. And you took the dignity out of, when you look at him, the dignity is gone. You don't see him as a human being. You see him as this beast or this monster or this villain or this crazy person. And that's the sad part. Like up until then, he was a human who was about to be sentenced, for a crime that he committed up until then. And then he became like a cartoon character because he leaped across, and then he became this humanless monster who's shackled up in these chains, who's now facing, probably 20 years to life in prison. So it's sad.
And the thing is that moments before that, he was begging for lenience, probation. I've learned I'm not on drugs. I'm this. You did this. And because the judge says, well, looking at your record and your history, I think I need to give you a little taste of something different. Some people say, oh, she shouldn't have said that. The judge pretty much said whatever they want to say in the court. They said it. She is not the first person to say something like, oh, you're going to get what you deserve today. So, but you just said that you were recovered or you learned a lesson. You just need probation, get your life together. You ain't on drugs, and you gonna do right. And because you heard this judge said, "Nah, we're gonna get a little something else." You didn't even know what that something else was, and you leaped across to attack this woman. And I don't feel sorry for him. I hope they don't drive. I hope that the attempted murder don't come out. But knowing them judge and the deputies, they probably pressing charges. So MD said, "Oh, look at that book was flying the second time around."
Well, it's 8:00. We have absolutely enjoyed being here tonight on Let's Gripe. We appreciate our listeners and for everyone who tunes in. It's always just a pleasure to be here. If you have anything that you want us to talk about, then don't forget to hit us up on social media and drop your topics because we'd love to hear what you would like us to discuss.
Just like McKenna said, because see, I be having this phone, look, it's on the Powerhouse, and I be sending the links and I be sharing. I keep telling you guys, subscribe so I don't have to always be sending these links. You be like, you didn't remind me. And to subscribe and like and share. But again, you know, you can chime in. Thank you guys for listening and tuning in because definitely we couldn't have these conversations without you guys. Look for it all the time and a lot of time. So we do have, I got to give it up to our silent listeners because we got a lot of them, they just tune in and listen. And, you know, when I talk to them, they be giving feedback. They like our conversation and our opinions. So we definitely shout out to the silent ones. Shout out to the ones who chat in the chat. Sometimes they're not able to chat too because they might be somewhere just listening. But we do thank you guys so much for supporting the powerhouseradio.com and 89.1 FM. We really do appreciate you on that. I'm forever always grateful for you guys because I love doing this, and you guys, the more and more you come in and share your thoughts and say good night to us. Sometimes we're not able to because we're in a conversation, we can't really get to say something at that time. Well, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for always staying tuned. Don't forget Thursday, we got Reasoning Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time to 10 in the evening. And then we have the Lady D show 12 to 4 on Saturday. You don't want to miss it. You got to tune in. And again, thank you so much for supporting the powerhouseradio.com and Let's Gripe and Lady D show and Reasoning Thursday. Thank you so much. You guys have a good week. Be safe and happy birthday to MK.
Yeah. You listen to the sounds of DJ Fourth Quarter in your ear right now. If you're in your car, if you're at home, if you're on your phone, let's gripe, baby.
Driving home and you're feeling kind of tired. Radio play the same thing every day. So you need a little switch in your life. Traffic got you jammed up every night. Tune in to Powerhouse. Wednesday, 7 to 9, you need to check them out. I promise I ain't trying to hype, but one good listen tonight, it might change your life. So what's the name of the show? You need something to just ride to on the go. Or you might be home, so log on. You can even dial in on your phone. I promise that you're gonna love it. Just try it one time, it'll blow your mind. Now I'ma say it just one more time. Every Wednesday from 7 to 9.
You're in tune to the Powerhouse Radio, linking the world to the Caribbean.
Let's gripe. Let's gripe. Let's gripe.